Wrestling fans all around the world are buzzing with excitement, speculation, and plenty of questions after what went down on WWE Raw last night. The backstage reports that have come out since the show wrapped have ignited conversations across social media platforms, wrestling forums, and fan communities, and the topic at the center of all this chatter is none other than Jimmy Uso and his very direct refusal to fall in line with Roman Reigns. This development is significant not only because it breaks the ongoing speculation that has surrounded the Bloodline storyline for weeks, but also because it signals that Jimmy Uso might finally be stepping out of the shadow that has followed him for much of his WWE career. For months now, fans and analysts alike have been wondering whether Jimmy would ultimately bow to the tribal chief's pressure, whether he would continue the pattern of submission that has defined so many of Roman's relationships with his family members, or whether he would instead blaze his own trail. Last night on Raw, according to those who were present backstage, Jimmy made his position crystal clear. He confronted Roman Reigns directly, man-to-man, and made it known that he is no longer willing to be manipulated, brainwashed, or treated as a second-class member of the family unit. In one powerful declaration, Jimmy drew a line in the sand and declared that he is done being overshadowed, done being someone else's pawn, and fully committed to standing tall on his own 2 feet. This is no small decision for Jimmy Uso. His defiance represents a bold risk because opposing Roman Reigns is not simply about disobeying a single order or rejecting a single role. Roman Reigns has carefully cultivated an aura of dominance in WWE over the last several years, positioning himself as not only the head of the table within his own family, but also as the undisputed centerpiece of WWE programming. Those who defy him often find themselves isolated, punished, and systematically dismantled. Roman's reign as champion has been built not only on physical superiority, but also on psychological control, and he has consistently used loyalty, family obligation, and emotional manipulation to keep the Bloodline united under his command. Jimmy's outright refusal threatens to undermine that structure. When one key member of a faction shows resistance, it sends ripples throughout the entire group dynamic, and those ripples can very quickly turn into waves that crash down on the seemingly unshakable empire Roman has built. The tension between Jimmy and Roman is layered with years of personal history, both on-screen and behind the curtain. For much of his career, Jimmy has been tethered to his twin brother Jey, with the two making a name for themselves as one of WWE's most decorated and reliable tag teams. The Usos became synonymous with tag team excellence, delivering memorable matches against the New Day, the Dudley Boys, and countless other teams. However, as Roman rose to prominence and declared himself the tribal chief, the Usos were drawn into his orbit. Jey, after initial resistance, eventually bent to Roman's will, becoming one of his most loyal allies. Jimmy, on the other hand, has always carried himself with a bit more defiance, occasionally teasing rebellion before being pulled back into the fold. This push and pull has been a recurring theme in the Bloodline story, and now it appears that Jimmy has finally reached the breaking point where words are no longer empty and actions must back up his convictions. The moment on Raw where Jimmy reportedly told Roman that he is not going to be brainwashed like before is crucial. It highlights not only Jimmy's determination but also his growth as a character. In previous years, Jimmy might have caved, either for the sake of family unity or because he feared the consequences of disobedience. But this time, the message is that he's tired of repeating the same cycle. He's tired of being cast as the sidekick, the lesser Uso, or the man who exists only in relation to his brother or his cousin. By declaring that he is no longer playing second fiddle, Jimmy is signaling that he wants his own spotlight, his own arc, and his own identity within WWE. From a storyline perspective, this creates a fascinating set of possibilities. One option is that Jimmy truly goes solo, carving out a career that separates him from the Bloodline saga entirely. This could mean pursuing singles championships, forging new rivalries, and building credibility as a single star rather than as one half of a tag team. Another possibility is that Jimmy's rebellion sparks a deeper implosion within the Bloodline itself, leading to new feuds not just with Roman but possibly with Jey as well. The twin dynamic has always been central to their story, and if Jimmy and Jey were to find themselves on opposite sides of the Roman divide, WWE would have an emotional and compelling sibling rivalry ready to play out on the biggest stages. Of course, fans are already asking the big question: could Jimmy Uso be the one to finally break Roman's cycle of dominance? For years, Roman has maintained control by surrounding himself with loyal family members and allies who shield him from defeat. The Bloodline has been portrayed as nearly unstoppable, with Roman sitting atop the mountain as a result. But every dynasty eventually shows cracks, and Jimmy's refusal to acknowledge Roman could be the first true crack that leads to the entire structure tumbling down. If Jimmy follows through on his stand, if he continues to resist manipulation, and if he can rally others to his side, then Roman might finally face the downfall that so many fans have been anticipating. There is also the intriguing possibility that Jimmy's declaration is only the beginning of a long psychological game. WWE storytelling often thrives on layers of deception and misdirection, and it's possible that Roman will attempt to manipulate Jimmy further, perhaps even pretending to give him space while secretly plotting to reassert control. The Bloodline's internal conflicts have always been rich with drama, and this new chapter adds yet another twist that could unfold over weeks or even months. Fans have already begun debating on social media whether Jimmy should remain solo or whether he will eventually reunite with Roman despite his current stance. Some argue that Jimmy breaking free is the natural evolution of his character, allowing him to finally achieve the recognition he deserves without being tethered to Roman's shadow. Others believe that the allure of family, combined with the immense pressure Roman is sure to apply, will ultimately drag Jimmy back into the fold, whether willingly or reluctantly. WWE has been known to blur the line between loyalty and betrayal in the Bloodline saga, and the outcome here is anything but predictable. Beyond the storyline implications, Jimmy's stand also reflects the broader themes WWE has been exploring through the Bloodline arc. At its core, the story is about power, control, and identity within a family structure. Roman represents the archetype of the domineering leader who demands absolute loyalty and uses fear as his greatest weapon. The Usos represent the struggle of family members caught between love, obligation, and personal ambition. Jimmy's refusal is symbolic of breaking free from toxic control, a narrative that resonates far beyond the wrestling ring. Fans who have dealt with similar dynamics in their own lives find an added layer of meaning in watching Jimmy resist the pull of manipulation and declare his independence.